The here and now. The here and now. I felt terrible today. I woke up and I knew that no matter which side of the bed I got out of, it would be the wrong one. I looked in the mirror and I said some horrible things to myself. I was rude to my wife. I didn't want to play with my children. I just wanted to be alone and miserable. It happens sometimes, but that's okay, because I'm only human after all. But more importantly, I remembered that how I feel right now is not actually who I am. My mood is a state, not a place. This episode is about those negative feelings we all have sometimes. For some of us, they are a crippling burden, and for others, they may only appear now and again. This isn't professional advice, and I don't mean to trivialize what is a serious illness for many people. Please, do not substitute my ramblings here for seeking help from those qualified to provide it. But my intentions for this episode are simply to provide some insight, to share some of my feelings, and perhaps a couple of strategies that might help you to manage the negative thoughts that sometimes pop up in your life. I'd like to remind you that you're not alone if you also feel down sometimes. Negativity is a natural emotion, just like happiness, anger, apathy. It comes and goes. It doesn't help us though, and it should be avoided as much as possible. But you can't avoid it by not facing it, by not understanding and accepting it. The most important thing is not to let it become you. But to feel negative sometimes is okay. Here's a bit of my negativity. There are many reasons why I shouldn't have started this podcast, and those same reasons make me feel like stopping it every time I begin to write another episode. I say to myself, no one will listen anyway. What the hell do I have to say that anyone would be interested? Who am I to preach about life when I know fuck all about it myself? God, this will sound boring. Things of that nature. What things do I say to myself so that I can carry on and do it anyway? I say, I enjoy this. I'm doing this for me. What difference does it make if no one listens? Why be afraid of doing this if it isn't hurting anyone? And what if one person enjoys what I have to say? If I reach just one person and it means something to them, then in that moment, it's been worth it. In the words of the great Pink Floyd, is there anybody out there? It's not easy to believe in yourself. Negative thoughts seem to be a default mode for most, if not all of us. Doubt lurks deep within us. It is an alter ego constantly trying to keep us down. And that makes every achievement all the more remarkable, because every single person that rose to success had to fight back that voice inside that said, don't put yourself out there. Take the easy road. Keep your head down. It's not worth it. You can't do it. You're not worth it. But why is that? Where does that voice come from? We get one chance at life. This is it. You are here right now. You have no idea why or how it came to be that you got this chance at life. Billions of years passed, and then you arrived. For a cosmic second, you are here. Soon you'll be gone. For billions more years, time will march on without you. So you have a choice then. A choice to not care about your life because it is so insignificant, or to care about it more than anything else because you won the lottery by being here and you have so little time to experience it. So keep that thought in the back of your mind. Set that as an anchor point, a gentle reminder that no matter how consumed you become with life and your thoughts, all of it is a gift that will eventually be taken away, and soon. So the thing about all those negative thoughts is they are simply that, thoughts. They aren't real. They don't exist anywhere but in your head. You have no idea where they came from or why, or what you'll think of next. All that is real are your choices, the decisions you choose to make. You can't control what happens in life. You can plan and prepare and anticipate and think a million thoughts, just like me as a kid when I tried to imagine all the possibilities. But there's no getting around the fact that shit happens to all of us. It's what happens next. That's a mindset. The negative thoughts that seem to swell up inside us are imposters. They aren't us. They are our fears and insecurities, manifesting themselves to protect us from the potential for harm. Harm to our pride, fear of embarrassment and failure, fear of uncertainty, of not being good enough or capable of doing something. But those fears do not have our best interests at heart. They are not there to help us reach our potential. They are there to keep us small and insignificant, because being small and insignificant is safe. But we have a choice. Do you choose to listen to those negative thoughts and let them define your life? Or do you acknowledge them, then set them to one side, and move forward anyway? When I have negative thoughts, I don't pretend they're not there, but I don't have to let them be my present and become my reality. Eckhart Tolle, perhaps best known for his book The Power of Now, refers to innate negative thinking as the pain body, which he describes as the accumulation of old emotional pain that almost all people carry in their energy field. He suggests that this accumulation of negative energy tends to pop up from time to time and tries to bring us down, consuming our thoughts with more negative thoughts, a self-perpetuating cycle. Furthermore, he believes negative energy affects entire populations through their so-called collective pain body, which is marred in that negativity that surrounds large-scale events like civil wars and conflict. Now, I'm pretty skeptical about most of Tolle's thoughts and his cosmic mode of reasoning, but I do see his point. But energy fields, really? What I believe is that the brain is the centre of our being. It's a jelly-like mass of mostly fat which controls, well, everything, including how we feel. I'm sorry to be unromantic, but we don't actually feel with our heart and we don't feel butterflies in our stomach. We feel with our brain. We think and feel with our prefrontal cortex, or PFC. And that's the part of your brain behind your forehead where conscious thought takes place. It's home to what is referred to as the executive function. It's the you that lives in your head, literally just behind your eyes. But the PFC is fed by inputs from all over our brain, so it's no wonder we are constantly bombarded with thoughts that seem to emerge from nowhere. From one moment to the next, we could be thinking about what we are looking at, where we need to be in an hour, and what we are going to have for lunch. Or we could be thinking about that time in kindergarten when we were 3 years old and we used to jump off the wooden playground shouting, "Geronimo!" Well, that's what I did anyway. We have no more of an explanation for why such random memories and thoughts appear than for why we sometimes feel like shit. But underlying it all is a complex but relatively well understood interaction of chemicals. Our emotions are literally chemical reactions in our brains. Minute changes in chemical concentrations and interactions are responsible for every thought and process that takes place in your brain. It is an organic, biological process. It is so amazing as if to sound like magic, but it's really just chemistry. You are your own unique chemistry set, playing out in that lump of jelly between your ears and behind your eyes. Another thing about the brain, as remarkable as it is that it likes patterns and repetition. Memories, personality, behaviour, they are all formed through long-established neural pathways that connect the various regions of the brain. We are the result of those connections that were established in the womb and in childhood and throughout our lives. Negative thoughts are merely a representation of some of those neural pathways. Certain experiences tend to forge deeper pathways that connect other areas of our brain. So when we are stimulated by a sound or a sight, a smell, or a combination of words, those old pathways light up in totally unrelated contexts. We can quickly be whisked away to some place or feeling that was formed long ago that was lying dormant in the darkest recesses of our brain. And that is a powerful thing, and it serves a useful evolutionary purpose. For when we see a lion, we run. We need to remember things, and unfortunately, many of those memories and experiences are not positive, yet they are inextricably tied to other neural pathways and may appear when we least want them to. But just as every thought is a phantom burst of chemicals, so is every memory and emotional connection. They are not real. They have no power in the physical world beyond the brain unless we make decisions in response to them. For me, there's a wonderful, freeing sense of detachment that comes with thinking of the brain, as ironic as that sounds, as the physical hub of our thoughts. The awareness that feelings and emotions are things that happen inside the brain as a result of chemical reactions. When you feel butterflies in your stomach, you're actually feeling chemicals in your brain. When you feel love, sadness, anxiety, fear, it's all happening in your brain. All of that negativity that consumes you, that holds you back from realizing your potential, is nothing more than chemicals in your brain. You don't have any more control over those chemicals than you do over your gallbladder or your pancreas or liver. Processes happen well beyond conscious awareness, and they take place in your prefrontal cortex. And doesn't that put a different perspective on mental health? Negative thoughts and feelings are nothing more than a process, and while we can't stop thoughts from occurring, we have a choice with what to do with them. By understanding how they are formed, at least from a physical perspective, we can begin to detach from them and not let them overwhelm us, falling victim to them. If we can identify the value of thoughts when they appear, then we are well placed to ignore those that offer us no benefit. That voice in your head that says, "You can't do this," or "You don't deserve this," can be countered by the same voice in your head. You can say, "Ha! I see what you're up to, brain, and I'm not buying it." Maybe you didn't eat well the day before, or more importantly, you didn't get enough sleep or not good enough quality sleep. For whatever reason, your brain is feeding you bullshit. But that's okay. It's not real. It's just chemicals talking through you and your PFC. And you have the ability to divert that negative energy and replace it with rational thought, or better still, ignore it altogether and get on with the task of living. You can say to yourself, and more specifically to your brain, "You can play your games today, brain, but tomorrow the chemical balances will have changed and I'll be feeling better. So I won't waste time worrying about the negative thoughts that seem to be coming today. I'll just accept them for now. They will pass, and I know that tomorrow will be better." And it will. That is actually how it works. Really. For those who struggle with negative thoughts often, and there are many, there are two approaches that aim to help. One is to alter those chemical interactions with medication. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, are what we know as antidepressants. They work on the principle of suppressing the mechanism in our brains that tries to recycle chemicals for later use. Messages that pass between the neurons in our brain do so via chemicals known as neurotransmitters, and one of them is called serotonin. Serotonin affects the positive-negative balance of our mood. As neurotransmitters pass between our synapses, which are the nerve endings between neurons where chemical messages are sent and received, transporter molecules gather up the excess to recycle it. Sometimes those recycling molecules get carried away, and maybe they scoop up the neurotransmitter too early, or they scoop up too much of it. In the case of serotonin, that ends up affecting our mood. The synapse may also become conditioned to low levels of serotonin or other neurotransmitters, and then behave in unusual ways, and this can have consequences for the types of thoughts and feelings that we have. Now, it's thought SSRIs work by interrupting the recycling molecules so serotonin levels are maintained. The prescription of SSRIs, it's like an engineering solution for depression, and that's the approach typically taken by psychiatrists. And the problem is there's actually no consensus on exactly how SSRIs work, or even if they do, and that's amazing considering how commonly they are prescribed. In cases of major depression, SSRIs have been shown to be reasonably effective. But for many people, they're no better than a placebo, and they're often reported to dull personality, flattening out mood rather than elevating it. SSRIs are not a wonder drug, they have side effects. Now they may be helpful, but they also may not be worth it. Another approach is to try to think your way out of negativity by reprogramming your response to negative thoughts and feelings. That may entail either avoiding situations which may give rise to those thoughts, or understanding them for what they are and implementing conscious strategies to manage them. This is the more typical approach of psychologists and therapists who use a treatment known as cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It's essentially what I'm talking about here, understanding that there is an underlying physical process taking place and reframing your thoughts to either disregard negative thoughts or keep them in context so they do not influence your decisions and your behavior in negative ways. Here comes the present again. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's very hard to be anything but neutral in the present moment because it doesn't come with any baggage and it doesn't care about the future. It is okay to have negative thoughts. It is normal, it's natural, and something that happens to everyone. It is also okay to sit with those negative thoughts, appraise them in a detached kind of way, and see them for what they are. But give yourself a break and know that soon enough they will pass and you will feel better. Maybe after a good night's sleep or after you get some exercise or meet up with your friends. Negative thoughts do not define you. They are not real, and they most certainly are not you. They are a fleeting moment in time which you just happen to be a witness to. Now, this approach may not work for everyone. Just knowing that there is a biological process taking place in your brain may be too abstract to help you manage those negative thoughts and feelings. So there are other techniques, but like everything worthwhile, they take practice, and in order to become proficient, they require hard work. They are not a quick fix or a miracle cure. CBT is challenging, but it provides a toolkit of mental strategies that can help manage and overcome negativity. It is far from my expertise to provide those tools here, but they do exist, and there are professionals able to help you with that if you need it. Your GP is the best place to start, and they can refer you to the right people. But even just identifying that how you feel is fine, it is normal for everyone to have some form of negativity, can be cathartic in itself. I don't think that my occasional bouts of negativity need clinical management, and you probably don't either. So perhaps the ideas presented here may be of some use to you. Summing up, sometimes we don't feel right. Call it a bad mood, call it a funk, getting out of the wrong side of the bed. It's just the way it is sometimes, but don't overthink it. Accept that it is you for now, maybe for the next few hours, maybe for the whole day, but it will pass. Thoughts are simply that, thoughts. They are not real things. They are transient apparitions that appear randomly and disappear just as quickly. You don't need to put weight on them or take them seriously. Just observe them and then let them go. Every thought, feeling, emotion, and behavior happens in your brain as a result of complex chemical interactions. When your head is swimming with negative thoughts, try to remember that it's just chemicals and biology going on up there. It is a part of you, but it is not you. Choose how you respond to your thoughts and feelings. Don't become a slave to them. Some thoughts inspire us, fill us with joy, laughter, and hope. Others do none of those things. So let those thoughts go. Consciously choose how you want to feel. Or if you don't feel great, picture the you that feels better. It will be reality soon enough. Get as much exercise as possible. Be disciplined and stick to a routine. Have close friends. Be open and honest with people. Listen to them, because it's hard to worry about yourself when you're thinking about others. Give yourself a hug. Give someone else a hug. You are not a slave to your thoughts, and you are not alone. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Here and Now podcast. You can find us on Facebook at the Here and Now podcast or our website hereandnow2017.com. Be sure to subscribe. I'd love to hear from you about this episode or any other topics. You can reach me through the pages or by email at emailthehereandnow@gmail.com. That's email thehereandnow, all one word, @gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.